So now take a look. A museum charges $5 per person for a guided tour with a group of 1 to 9 people, or a fixed 50 fee for 10 or more people in the group. Set up a function related to the number of and cost people. So that means the charges is going to be, or the cost function depends on the number of people. So N stands for the number, C stands for the cost, right? So they either charge you for two scenario. One is if the group is in between 9 to 10. So you can say, hey, if N less than 10, but not equal to, or you can also do N less to or equal to 9, then they will charge you $5 per person. So that means if you have N person, you times 5. That would be your cost. The other scenario is if you have more than 10 people, which is greater than or equal to 10, they're going to charge you 50. So that means if you have 20 people, they still charge you 50. If you have 30 people, they charge you 50. If you have 120 people, they still charge you 50. So that is the function. Another example would be this one. A prepaid cell phone company uses the function below to determine the cost. C is the cost in dollar for the gigabyte of data transfer. So C of the gigabyte, the cost of the gigabyte equals to 25 if you transfer less than 2 gigabytes. That's how they interpret the function. Or they're going to charge you to $25 plus everything above is going to be $10, right? Or if you don't understand that function, you can just say, hey, if your data consume more than 2 gigabytes, you're going to use the second function. So the way to understand it is, what does that mean, G minus 2? So that means if the part that more than 2 gigabytes, they're going to charge you $10 per gigabyte, right? So now they want you to find the cost by using 1 gigabyte data. So if you just use 1 gigabyte of data, so which function you should use? Well, the second one only applies when G is greater than or equal to 2. So that means you have to use the first one, because the first one is satisfy the condition of G is in between 0 to 2. So that means the cost of 1.5 gigabyte equals to $25. So they're going to charge you $24 for transfer 1.5 gigabyte. So now second question is, what's the cost if you're using 4 gigabytes of data? So the cost function, when G equals to 4, we need to use the second formula, right? Because when G greater than equals to 2, we need to apply to the second formula. So since 4 is greater than or equals to 2, so that means I have to use the second formula. So I have 25 at 10 times 4 minus 2, which is equals to 25 plus 20, which is $45. So that means if you use 4 gigabytes of data, the company is going to charge you $45. If you use the 1.5 gigabyte, they're going to charge you $25. Okay, so now the next part I want to talk about is how to graph the piecewise function. Okay, if I given you a piecewise function, fx equals to x squared 3 or 6 minus x. If x is less than or equals to 1, and fx equals to 3 if x is in between 1 to 2, and fx equals to 6 minus x if x greater than 2. Okay, I think you all know how to draw this function. It just now they have a condition of piecewise function. Now let's take a look. Oops. Should be in here. Okay, so when x squared, we all know what does x squared function look like. It's going to be a parabola, right? So starting from the 0, if we don't care about the domain right now, starting from 0, it will be look like something like that. Oops, this needs to move down a little bit. Oh, here. All right, so here is going to be our parabola for x squared, right? The first function, x squared. However, x only attempt from what? Less than or equals 1. So that means if x, this part of x, oops, sorry. So that means this part, everything greater than 1, it shouldn't be 6, the one that I highlighted, right? Because x only goes as far as to 1. So that means the function is going to cut at here when x equals to 1. All right. So in that case, we have to wipe this part. So that means the function is starting from negative infinity for horizontally to negative infinity to 1 and end at 1. So this is the first part. Okay, for the second part, fx equals to 3. This is a constant function. So what does the function look like? I'm going to use a yellow pen. I'm going to draw a yellow pen here for the second function. So that means no matter x equals to what, y always equals to 3. So the functions look like something like this, goes on both sides. But however, the functions is starting with what? 1, not including 1, and ends at 2, right? That's the domain. So that means I want my function cut at this part. Oh, at 2 here, sorry. Right? So that means only the middle part stands for the function, represent the function, because other than that, the function is undefined because x only from 1 to 2, including 2. So that means when it comes to 2, it's going to be a solid dot, but when it comes to 1, it should be an empty circle because you can't include in 1. Other than that, we need to get rid of it because the function is not included in this part. Okay, so the third part of the function, I'm going to use a red pen. The third part of the function is 6 minus x. So it's a linear function. When it comes to linear function, we know that, hey, we substitute number and trying to find x and y. If x equals to 2, y is equals to 4. If x equals to 3, y equals to 3. So that means the function is from 2, 4, which is here, and then 3, 3, which is here. Now I connect these two together. So again, the function is supposed to look like this way. It goes to both directions. However, what happened? Well, because the function only defined on x greater than 2, so that means the function is starting at this point, so we need to wipe everything out. Also, it's not including 2, so it should be a circle. So here is the function. This is what the function looks like of this whole piecewise function, totally containing 3 parts. When x less than or equal to 1, and x in between 1 to 2, and x greater than 2. So remember, if they can extend it, I'm going to put an arrow on that. That means the function can go wider. Alright, so this is what we learned today about the piecewise function. Let me know if you have other questions.